So thank you for inviting me to be here and show this presentation to you. It's just going to be very brief on the incident that occurred in our city. It was October 8th, 2016. I'm going to apologize in advance. It's still something that's very emotional to me. So if I start to cry, just ignore it and I'll continue on. So this is me. My name is Jennifer Hill. As Tim introduced me, I've been a dispatcher for 16 years. Began my career in North Central Police. I was there for 9 years, and then met a man and moved to Palm Springs, and I've been there ever since. I started training, moved quickly through, became a CTO within a year and a half. The incident took place in 2016, and then I promoted to supervisor in 2018. I also was promoted to SWAT dispatcher in 2018 as well, which I currently still do. I have an associate's degree in criminal justice. I also have a bachelor's and a master's degree in psychology. And I'm going to remain in Palm Springs until we see what the future holds. So this is just a news clip of what happened that day.
Tonight for 2 police officers ambushed on Saturday as they answered a routine call. John Watson was there.
A growing memorial in Palm Springs is dominated by large photos of the 2 murdered police officers. Leslie Zaretti, 27, mother of a 4-month-old daughter, and Jose Gilbert Bay, 63, who was due to retire in December. Chief Ronnie Grace leads the department and the city in mourning.
In December, the time to pray for Palm Springs PD is now.
The 2 officers were on a call listening disturbance when they were gunned down through a closed door. The sound of dozens of gunshots was captured by a security camera. After a 12-hour battle with police, an alleged gang member, John Felix, 26, was forced out. There was no apparent motive for the shooting. It's becoming more common.
There's an awful lot of hate right now. Hate for officers, government in general. This was simply breaking the law.
Baker was working an overtime shift. Zaretti was just off maternity leave.
Her rifle is almost fast. And that was. Look his wife in the eyes. Kiss her on the forehead. Consider the bias.
At a vigil Sunday night, Officer Baker's family spoke with the man who has been taken from him. The 2 officers honored here are the first to be killed in the line of duty in Palm Springs in more than 50 years. There are teams killed. Many of you in court tomorrow. Scott, you could face the death penalty.
John Watson at police headquarters was my job. Palm Springs, California is.
So our dispatch center, we have a total of 16 dispatchers that's fully staffed. Minimum dispatch staffing is 2 dispatchers on at a time. However, we always try to staff for 3. And now that it's becoming busier, we're trying to staff for 4 and 5. At the time of the incident, we had a dispatcher who was on vacation and overtime was forgotten to be posted. So it left me and my partner on duty with 2 trainees. So we each had a trainee. So her training was training on the police radio for the first day. During this incident, I was training, or I was actually working fire channel, and my training was answering phones, and I was helping her along as the time went on. They both had 3 months on, but the male dispatcher, who we'll hear in a little bit, was he had prior experience. It was a normal Saturday. Well, let me get back to this. Sorry. We work 12-hour shifts during this point in time. Right now, we are back on 10s because we are almost fully staffed. I brought it to the supervisor's attention the day before. Hey, you know what? Overtime wasn't posted, and the comment was, "It's okay, you guys will be fine." Patrol staffing, that day we were staffed with 1 sergeant. We have 4 day shift patrol, which is from 06:30 to 16:30 hours. 2 late shift from, I messed up there, but it's from 11 to 9. We have 2 airport officers, but those airport officers are to stay at the airport, they're not to leave. And during this incident, one of them actually did leave. Some other resources we had a community policing officer, and a CSO. Those are the people who deal with the transients. We had 1 patrol CSO who goes around taking reports. We had an animal control officer, 2 records clerks, and a jail transport officer. And we utilized all of those resources during that day. So the call for service that came in, and the RP was a Spanish speaker, it was the mother. She was calling to report that her son, John Felix, was causing a forfeit to the residents. He was refusing to leave. Later on, we found out that it was an argument between him and his sister over a remote control. And one of the things I kind of kicked myself in the butt about was that I wasn't sure whether I asked for those weapons in the residence. And so when I went back and listened to the recordings, I realized that I had asked, but I was told no. And later on, once officers were in the field, the mother revealed to officers, yes, there's weapons in the home, and yes, he said he's going to injure officers. I don't know what the response would have been had she revealed that over the phone. I don't know, don't send them. This was a common residence that we dealt with. Officer Vega knew the suspect from the time he was a juvenile. His brother was also well known to us, and we were out there, I mean, just years and years and years of service that we were out there. The week prior, I had taken a phone call from the father because the suspect was trying to steal his truck, and so we were out there. So I feel a little bit maybe complacency when taking that phone call, but the questions were asked. So I will play a little bit of the radio traffic, just so you guys can, understand what was going on during that incident. When the call came in, I took over the radio shortly after it was dispatched. Since the radio dispatcher was first seen on the radio for dispatching police, and he had fire experience but hadn't gotten a big fire yet. So the agreement was, if there's a big fire, he's going to take over and we'll just switch radios. So prior to this incident, we ended up getting a big brush fire. So we switched. So, and you'll hear the switch in the call.
Okay, you have the okay, I support you in that. I had a call, he was separated,
contact show, got a contact for 3035, 148, 66487, 1164, 1167, and 366. I did it. On our call. I think the first period is kind of one that is non-recreation to 20 feet. And then show,
Hey, you take that line and shoot it to the door. We got to talk about that. Say, immediately, yeah, I'll finish this window.
that's a big feeling.
Okay, how many myself, and that's it. The ball is going to take out there with all your now, so that's all. Okay, there's no need one services now.
Yeah.
All company, by the way. Figure it out with that. Everything we got in the end, this is the whole. Here it comes.
Copy, shots fired. 2754, Cypress Road, shots fired. Copy, 1189, 1189. We got three officers here. Copy, I'll be 3 officers here. Copy, one day officer around. Copy, 45. It's on fire. There is a coffee shop fire. Or I got a copy off over there. Copy, and I'm not underneath the site.
Okay, so I'll stop it right there. And it continued. A lot of the shots fired that were occurring was officer suppression because the two officers were down and they needed to rescue them. So from the very beginning, it was a quiet day dispatch. Yeah, there were calls pending. We were short-staffed, but we were making the best of it. The fire broke out and all of a sudden we're busy. And then Officer Vega, he was at lunch. He was the most senior officer in the department, so he took lunch whenever he wanted, which was typically around 11 o'clock. He cleared from lunch and he went directly to the call. Officer Zaremi was a late day officer, so as soon as she came in at 11 o'clock, she was getting her patrol car ready and realized that she had a flat tire. She was the type of person who would have changed it herself, but we didn't allow it. We called for a tow truck to come and change it for her. And she sat in the report writing room. We had a little conversation as we saw the news that she had just returned from maternity leave, talked about her daughter, joked around a little bit, and then as soon as she was available to go to me, she heard Officer Vega going to the call, so Officer Zaremi went to that one. As I said, we had that big brush fire that was going on the south end of town before this happened. We had most of our fire units already at the south end of town. The fire unit that was closest to this incident, for some reason, they were about a block and a half away. Their engine just completely died. So they happened to be very, very close at the time that they were needed there. So I went and I did some stats. For October of 2016, we answered, there was incoming outgoing calls, 15,674. The Saturday prior to that, there was 345 calls. And then this happened about 1,300 hours. During that hour, we received 123 incoming outgoing calls. The preceding hours died down a little bit, 119, 97, but yet we're at 5 o'clock and we still had 65 incoming calls. For the 24-hour period, we had 853 incoming and outgoing phone calls. So that was a major impact in our center with, 2 dispatchers and trainees. Basically, what we ended up doing was my partner, she had the fire radio, I had the police radio. We told the trainees, you guys get together, answer phone calls and answer whatever additional channels there is going. When the incident took place, I did go over the intercom. I did broadcast the 1199 and then I had to quickly get off the channel because I had to be on my channel for, whatever was needed there. So I left everybody hanging. They had additional questions and you know what, the trainees figured out. Sorry, I can't help you right now. So just some things to think about, staffing levels. I know that we're all pretty much short-staffed, but you never know, as Tim said, when these things are going to happen. Utilize all of your resources. During this day, as I mentioned, we had a jail transport officer, we had records clerks. As soon as the incident happened, they came in, they were supportive. What can I do? We utilize them to make notifications to staff came in, call everybody that you can possibly in. So that's a big one. We had an influx of incoming calls as you saw in the stats. Not only did we have calls for service still going on that we were having to input, but we also have officers calling in because they heard this information and they wanted to know what was going on. It was really quick. Sorry, you know what? Get here. We gotta go. We had agencies calling for info, which, you know, during these times, you think, you know, oh, I don't want to bother them, but we need to get the resources there, so that's understandable. But again, it was incoming calls that we, you know, try to hurry up through. And then we had media calling. Media was initially, they were, what's going on, we wouldn't give them the information. Then they became a little bit more bold and started posing as officers trying to get information. You know, at one point, my trainee was like, one of the officers had actually called in and she said, I can't give you any information, just get down here, and hung up. Some of the other things that we were thinking about was command post. It's on the reporting, it came about later on where we were asking where we set up the command post. There was one sergeant on duty who was trying to run this whole thing. That was something that was far from his mind, was setting up a command post. So if you're able to assist them with that, or at least remind them of that, then that's, you know, something that you can help them. You got to bridge that gap and have those conversations with your officers and with your sergeants to become, you know, to get used to how they work, how they operate, so you can assist them. What else? Notifications of staff, that was one. The notifications of the deaths. How I was notified, I was still working the incident because I refused to give it up. And one of the senior dispatchers had come in to assist. All of our dispatchers ended up showing up that day to come and help out. She was notified by the hospitals that, you know, the officers were there and needed to get in contact with their family members. She somehow was able to get them to reveal to her that they were no longer breathing. And then the coroner called, and she pretty much was like, I'm not getting you a lieutenant until you tell me who the officers were. The coroner actually told her who they were, and then she came and whispered to me in my ear. I had an idea as to who was hit because I heard Officer Vega tell me he was hit. I just didn't know he was deceased. Officers running me after that, you know, initial contact on the radio. I never heard from her again, so I kind of assumed that was what was going on. But while I'm working this incident, about an hour in, I get this in my ear. It was Vega, he's gone. And it's like, okay, I still have a job to do. You need to go and answer phones, go and take care of over there because I can't break down with him. And my supervisor had asked me, so she came in, do you want me to leave from the radio? It's like, no, I'm working this. And as soon as I was relieved and I was forced off the radio, so that way they can make the proper notifications to us, I just broke down. So, so how do you notify your staff of that? You know, that's something we need to think about as well, because whenever the incident happens, social media is out there. That's how a lot of our officers in the field got notified, was that people were calling them and they were seeing Facebook posts of their officers no longer being here. And then participating in debriefs. We were fortunate enough that we were not forgotten. We were actually part of the debrief. But it's important to be a part of it because you're very much working as, you know, active students. You were there, but you weren't there. So it's good to be informed of, you know, what was that took place, because we paint this picture in our heads of what we think happened. And sometimes that's far worse than knowing what the reality is. And that's pretty much all I have. Interim Officer Vega and Officer Bretton. I forgot to mention that I also work for Kim Turner, who's you know, an administrator for SBSO, and we do this presentation. Sergeant Cabrera, who works with me, who was also involved in the incident, teaches critical incidents, and this is part of the class. We debrief it a little bit more, and we will be at town meeting in February, giving a deeper debrief on this incident on Sunday, the 27th of February. So thank you everyone for allowing me to present this, and enjoy this.